Yeah. Moving forward, before we get into setting up the agenda and all that, I thought let me show you a video which is there in our website, and this video more from the perspective of looking at the whole professional path. So there's something which was introduced called the professional path, and we just want to see how the professional path sits on this whole CPF and other things that we are talking about. So that's the idea. Let me get the video on.
I love facilitation and want the world to recognise the skills and behaviours that qualify me as a professional facilitator. The credentials of the International Association of Facilitators let me do just that. When a client brings you into their project, they want to be certain you can do the job. I used to find it hard to explain my credentials to people. The IAF has made it easier and more credible. It's given me a professional path. Thanks to the IAF, I gained mentors, confidence, and a seal of approval that explains the merits of my work. Being part of an association like this gave me an opportunity to grow while showing the world my credibility through affiliation and certification. See what's possible for you as a member, an endorsed facilitator, a certified professional facilitator, a master facilitator, or an emeritus. I remember when I became a member, I just realised, wow, this thing I do could be my work. Being a member didn't mean I had all the qualifications, but it opened the door to a place to refine skills and showed clients that I aligned with the IAF ethics and values. At my first regional conference, I realised that I was standing on the shoulders of giants. Mixing with people who were shaping the facilitation industry gave me a real buzz. I asked to be mentored, which helped me to understand the core competencies, which are still my foundation. My facilitation practice shifted in the Certified Professional Facilitator process. Going in, I was nervous, but when I realised the CPF assessors wanted me to succeed, I found my flow. The team was objective, impartial and realistic. I learned a lot from my fellow candidates and the post-assessment report. After recertifying twice as a CPF, my focus moved towards developing others. As I was increasingly mentoring and publishing, I went for the Certified Professional Facilitator Master, both for public recognition and personal revelation. I don't see myself slowing down anytime soon, but at some point I'm sure I'll rebalance my personal and professional activities and write my masterpiece that rethinks the system we all work within. Perhaps even become a CPF emeritus. The IAF's professional path stimulated me to grow as a facilitator while helping organisations know how to tap the power of facilitation. Why don't you see what it could mean for you?
Hey, that was the professional path, and I just thought let's look at the professional path. For those who joined in late and didn't see the video, no worries. You can go back into the website www.iaf-world-world.org, and the video stands out there. You can look at the whole professional path. What I would like to look at is if anyone has a quick question around the professional path, because CPF is what we are focusing on. So our focus is on basically being with the certified professional facilitator. That's what this session is about. But the prerequisite for anything is you need to be an IF member. The second is now we have endorsed facilitator. And after the CPF, for people who have recertified twice, there's an opportunity to become a CPF master and then CPF emeritus. That's more of when you kind of retire from that space. Presently in India, we are 13 of us as CPFs. Right, Shalaka? Is it 13 or 14, right?
Yeah, 14. Yeah.
14 now. That's the present score. And some of us have certified ourselves. I have done it twice, no, once. And I think soon Faraz also recertification is coming up and all that. So any quick questions around the pro path? If anyone has, you can raise your Zoom hand and we'll pick up one or two questions here.
So Ajit, I had a question. I'm sorry, I'm logging in from the phone, so I'm not able to figure out where the hand is.
No problem, Kamal, we can hear you.
So I wanted to know about the endorsed facilitator. Is that the first level of this entire professional path? I see a lot of, I think Pari is an endorsed facilitator as well, and a couple of others. So how does this lead into CPF? Or does it even necessarily lead into CPF?
Great. CPF can be attempted on its own. So it's not necessary that you have to be a EF and then a CPF. But generally, the suggestion of the pro path is that if you are a EF first, that's the endorsed facilitator, and then move to a CPF, it becomes a wonderful journey. As we are not covering endorsed facilitator in today's session of 2 hours, my request is, as you said, Kamal, that you know Pari, you surely know others also whom you can connect, or probably Shalaka is here. Shalaka, we could have a separate session on EF. EF process is very clear. If you go to the website, it lists out the process, and I by far feel it's the preparation for the process is easier. The documentation is much more simpler, and you can put your for your EF forward. That's the endorsed facilitator. But we can surely, if time permits, at the end, and if any EF who's there wants to talk about it, we can create that space. I had two hands
Thanks,
up.
Ajit.
Yeah, I had two hands up. Ajit Kotnis, you had a hand up, then it's gone off.
No, I had the same question which was asked just now. So
Sure.
it got answered, so I lowered my hand. That's it.
No problem. Amar, you wanted to ask something? I did see your hand up for a moment. Or was
it was about the EF again, and I wanted specifically inputs about the mentorship program in the EF, whether it is there and how to go about doing that.
Okay, Amar, just write this down. We'll take it at the end when we have specific time for the question answers. Anuradha, and then we move forward.
Hi everyone. So I'm a master certified coach from ICF, and I was very intrigued about the facilitation process that you all follow. So I just wanted to understand broadly, is there any criteria, any eligibility factors for somebody to want to become a facilitator, and what are the pluses, or if there are any negatives?
So wonderful question to have at this point of time, and that's what we are going to do for 2 hours. We are going to give you insights from the existing CPFs, 3 of them who are here and wanted to share their experiences. And then we are going to look at the CPF process, which will clarify it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, before I come with any other questions, which we'll take at the end, let me show how the agenda looks like, because that will probably give us a little time. We have sent an email on that, but just to tell you that this is where we are here. Which is where we are with the welcome, and we are moving into having three wonderful people who are CPFs share their experiences for us. And that's going to be about half an hour. Then we are going to do an activity where we are going to look at the experiences and harvest what came up from these experiences. And then we are going to open out the whole CPF process. And that's being done through an activity and then clarity on how the process looks like. And then here we have space for all the questions that still are unanswered. And if people just note it down and then put it up to us, at that point of time, we'll create a forum for you to put up those questions, and then we'll see how many we can answer within the 2 hours. And that's where we want to close. We have still put a small note here, let's close early. So we would love if we could answer everything, we could take care of everything and still close by, say, before 12:30. But that's a wish list. Let's see how it goes. Let's move forward with something which I'm looking forward to. So here we have our three wonderful CPFs. And I'm going to ask them to raise their Zoom hand so that it becomes easier for me to spotlight them. Yeah, thank you, Shalaka. I am going to spotlight you. That's Shalaka for us. Just getting hold of the others. Yeah, can you raise your Zoom hand? Okay, 1 second. Yes, thanks, Kala. Let me get Kala. And where is Farah? Farah? So let me get Farah. Farah has a bad network, so she may be in and out. She has already told us that there's a little bad network, and we'll have to kind of adjust Farah accordingly. We'll do that, Farah. So okay, we have now all three of them here. And let me take this opportunity to spotlight myself, because what we are doing is we are getting into experiences, and I have the pleasure of having a conversation with three of my colleagues here. But before I start with having a conversation, I would ask them to introduce themselves, as in, so Farah, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Wow, it's fantastic to see 40 in the room. I think I know some of you. My name is Farah, and I live in a beautiful city, Bangalore. And I have this love affair with IAF from a long time. So you know that I've gone this whole journey of starting as a fan of what IAF does, to becoming a member, to actually serving at the board. And yeah, so I wear two hats. I'm a facilitator and a coach, and I love what I do, really helping people to think differently and just have people feel that, in a group, that they never had an experience like that, where they could move to a solution that they never dreamed of. So for me, just being in that space and being a catalyst really, really excites me. So that's a little bit about me. And thank you, Ajit.
Over to Kala.
Hi, good morning, friends. Happy to see all of you and on camera, so it really makes that connect. So hi, I'm Kala Devanji. I'm coming from Mumbai. I am a co-founder of an HR consulting company. So, I love creating spaces for conversation. So IAF has been really a part of community where I think it gives more. Right? It is always giving. You have to be in the capacity to receive it. And that's what I love about this community. So I'm here to have this conversation, spend the beautiful Sunday morning with I can see most of you or all of you as next CPFs, So I hope we inspire you, and India should have more counts, If you all know, we are one of the biggest IAF member community, but we do not have so many CPFs. So our whole intent is, why not? What is stopping us? So, I'm come with that intent that we should have more CPFs. What do you say, Farah and Shalaka and Ajit? What do you say about that?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Over to you, Shalaka.
Thank you, Ajit. And first of all, I want to thank Ajit for, creating this opportunity and space for all of us. We were contemplating creating a series of offerings, and Ajit Looking at the conversation that was happening in the IF India members group, this was a need that was picked up, and he proposed this session. Thank you, Ajit, for creating this space and opportunity for all of us. I'm Shalaka Gundi. I'm based out of Pune. Been with the IF for six years now. I think as old as what we call as the Pune hub. We are celebrating the 6th anniversary end of this month. As Farah said, it's really been very close to being defined as a love affair, and I would say I have found my tribe. So the moment I joined IF, I was feeling so comfortable and so welcomed, and so part of very like-minded and people, generous, kind-hearted people. I have always worked in the people space. I'm an HR professional, worked in the corporate, and now expanded my scope of work beyond the corporate to include, the not-for-profits and the academia as well. I love facilitating and holding spaces for people. I do that through, other spaces like being a flow game host, etc. Currently playing also the role of the India co-chair for IF India. So that's I think briefly about me, and so happy to be here and sharing the space with all of you wonderful people. Thank you.
And we also have Mrunal here, who is also CPF. So I thought, let me also invite Mrunal in our fireside chat. Mrunal, welcome. I may not involve you a lot, but welcome. And Mrunal and we have worked together so many times. Mrunal, you want to introduce yourself quick?
Oh, thank you so much, Ajit. I was wondering how did I come here? So beautiful to have this session with all the fellow colleagues. So my name is Mrunal. I'm based in Mumbai. And for me, the journey of maybe my CPF, I would say, started with just a curious interest in knowing the difference between training and facilitation. That's how it started for me. And I just started love towards the IF community. I think many of us just now shared about it. So for me, the real attraction was, I love this community. And CPF was just a byproduct. There was 1 or 2 years, 3 years before I became CPF in 2016, people were saying, hey, you should go for it. Maybe you're ready. You can definitely attempt all that. But I felt I didn't feel the need. I just enjoyed the community. So for me, that's how the journey began. And so for those who really want to deepen their, the art of facilitation, know the difference, and you have the opportunity and possibility to make a difference that comes your way, I think this could be one of the very, very fulfilling path to become a CPF or any of the other kind of a thing. But I just want to also share from my own experience that in the IF community, there are people who have learned the art so well that they don't have to be a CPF, but they are making a big difference in terms of the way they facilitate, the way they get the group together and make them come to the consensus. So I also have these two different views. Thank you so much, Ajit, for inviting me. And such a pleasure to be with all of you, the CPFs.
Sure. Thank you, Mrunal, and thanks a lot. Just to let you know, in the view we are having, Farah was 2015 in Mumbai, Kala was 2019 in Malaysia, Shalaka was 2021 online, and we'll talk about online because that's become one of the important ways CPF. I was certified in 2014. Just to introduce myself, I came to facilitation many years back, I think 2009 or 10, when the first conference happened in India, Asia Conference, and then part of the founding team of IF India. Been an amazing journey here, and we have seen the whole organization, the IF community, grow. So here we are, and let's have the conversation. So all of you ready to go? First is, I have a common question for 4 of you. Three of you. Mrunal, I'll hold you for a while and you can chip in as and when you want. So Farah, Kala, Shalaka, what inspired you to take the CPF? I'll start with Farah first.
So what inspired me was, I was just doing this while I was sitting here. And I don't know if I can show that.
No, you can. Keep it in front of your body, then we can see it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you can see on the other side, which finger is that? Okay. The seed was sown in 2011, exactly what Ajit said. And I think that was my biggest inspiration, being part of a regional conference in India. And I walked into a room and I couldn't believe what I experienced. So having to first notice that there's a design, there's an invisible design, there was a process, and the fact that the facilitator was practically absent. And it was us, and I just was blown by that experience. And I said, how can I do that? And it's a very, very vivid memory. In fact, I've done that particular session in many of the cities in Bangalore, in the hubs. So the seed was planted in 2011, and I started thinking, I became curious, you know, I've been facilitating with the best in the business. I've been doing it. So I suddenly said, oh, I know what it is. I've been doing it. So after this, there was no turning back, but nothing happened immediately because I was going through my own journey. And at least twice in between 2011 and 2014, I wrote to the certification office, the IF certification office, asking for all the documents twice. Okay, so I got it. I looked at it and I said, okay, I must do it. I must start. I tried to understand it a little, but it was in 2014. I was sitting in another conference and I sat and wrote my intention for the next year. We were visualizing something. And I think it was somewhere in my subconscious and it came out again. And that intention, I made it happen over the next year. So a lot of work happened between 2014 and 15 when I chose to go to this conference in Mumbai and get certified. Why this was important for me? Because all this while I was supporting teams and I didn't really have the, I didn't even think that I needed to have like a accreditation to prove that I do this. And I also didn't have the money at that time. So it never even crossed my mind until someone said, can you send me your, all your certifications? I was like stumped. I said, I have nothing. And so that's why that journey of me being able to afford it, to believe that this is what I want to do. If I want to do this. So in that space, I learned to look at what kind of processes I'm using, how can I actually get ready for this, and that's what started my journey. The seed became really mature, and after that, I haven't, looked back. There was no turning back after that. Yeah, and of course, the journey's been great. Yeah.
Let me move the question to Kala. Kala, so what inspired you? So we heard a roller coaster coming from Farah, a lot of inspirational things, and the visualization that she did. Kala, for you?
So for me, let me give you my background. So I started my journey as an entrepreneur. So it was setting up a chemical manufacturing business where I was the leader handling a team. But then I found that was not my calling. So I got into education. So wherever my roles have changed, I was always from the tell mode. Right. But again, I thought that this is not comfortable. Like when you're moving ahead, like when I became an educator, I was teaching the young adults. And times had changed. It was not like how we were conditioned to listen to our teachers. So you had to do something innovative. So I found that, you need something more. You cannot just tell. People are changing. How do I get to hear those voices? And that got me, searching. And I'm a very curious person. If I want something, I will just go behind it. I said, I cannot tell anymore. I need to know some other methodology, what it is. So I started finding about what is facilitation. I Googled facilitation and the first name that came up was IAF. That intrigued me and I'm like, okay, what is IAF? Then I got into the community, and then when I got into the community and in my first conference that I attended in Bangalore, I was sitting there and I saw some great facilitation experience. I didn't see, but I experienced great facilitators, right? And I sat there and said, in the next conference, wherever it is, I'm going to be on the other side. When they're going to talk about CPFs, I will see myself there. And it took me exact 3 years, right, to get to know what it is, understand what is process facilitation, how is it different, how can you create those spaces? And that is what inspired me. And, I got myself certified. Because for me, I think the certification is the journey itself. It's not the end. Because after I got my certification, I realized in that journey of 3 months that we go through, what is actually process facilitation, so that is my journey, and I'm still learning, I'm just still learning. Yeah. Thank you.
Shalaka 2021, deep inside the pandemic, everyone was on lockdown, lot of confusion, and here you were attempting your CPF and passing it with flying colors. So what inspired you to, for me, it's like what inspired you to take it in 2021? You're muted, so you may have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, like Farah and Kala, the seed was sown much earlier, and all my inspirations are there in the room today. So I was really inspired by experiencing facilitation when I got introduced to IF, and I want to thank Ravi for introducing me to the IF and the facilitation community. Hi Ravi, and thanks for doing that. And I think looking back, in retrospect, I realized that, this was something that I was always looking for. Even in my career, I was drawn to processes like Synergogy, which is like a instructor-free learning methodologies. And, I have gone through human process labs and things like that, which really bring out the essence of, the inner experience and wisdom among people. So that was something that happened very naturally, and I wanted to make sure that I prepared myself well, because this is something that I could visualize was my future in terms of my professional work and my career. So then I said, if I have to do this, then I need to also equip myself and go through the rigor of really preparing for it, understanding it, validating whether I have understood it, and also getting feedback along the way. So I think those have been some of the intentions and purposes why I went in for the CPF, and why online, why 2021. It just happened because I guess I was ready around that time, and I did not bring that limitation inside me that I want to do it in person. For me, the experience and the process was more important than the platform in which it happened. So I think that helped me to also, there were doubts whether it will be the same, whether it will have the same value, etc. But of course, I did my groundwork and realized that they have moved the entire process online, so it really wouldn't affect the quality of the assessment. So that's why I went for it. I would say being able to be at home and prepare for it was a bonus. It gave more time and more I would say more opportunity to interact with people all over the world. This virtual space, it did not limit me to just speaking with people from India or people from my town, or with whom I interact with regularly, but it really opened up the geographical boundaries in terms of getting people's perspectives. And also every story that I heard was inspiring, so it kind of just built up the motivation inside me.
Sure. So I've been hearing journeys from all three of you. So one quick, very sharp question to Farah. Farah, in 3 words, describe your journey. She loves 3 words, 2 words, 5 words. In 3 words, describe your journey.
Depth, growth, learning.
Okay. Depth, growth, and learning.
Contribution. Yeah. I'm going to add another one. Yeah.
So moving to Kala, I know you are an improviser and you work with a lot of improvisation. For you to get into CPF, which requires preparation a lot, how was that for you?
It was very unsettling. It was very unsettling because as improvisers, you just do it on the spot, right? But process facilitation is just not being on the spot. It is a lot of pre-work, which people and participants don't know. They feel we just come there and throw out questions and, it just emerges. Of course not, it doesn't happen. It's, 85% is pre-work, which people don't see it. So for me to change my ways of working, correct, helped me. But being an improviser helped me because I was able to go with the flow, right? So the trainer part where I had to be in control of everything, was not there. So it was, I had to just shift to making the correct framework. But being improviser helped me to be in the moment and just emerge from what I was emerging. Yeah, so that's how it is.
Sure. Shalaka, you being one of our recent CPFs, Archana is recent as in last month, but she was not available. But you being recent in this group, my thought would be, what were your thoughts and feelings when you went through the entire assessment? Because here it was completely, we all the others were with in-person kind of environment, and you were going for this, which you talked about. So what kind of thoughts and feelings you are going at that point of time, and what were the challenges that you specifically worked on because of this being online now?
Right. So thoughts and feelings, a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, because there were so many things that were unpredictable. Who would be in the room? Who would be the other assessors? Will the technology hold up, etc. So a lot of uncertainties, and so a tendency to also over prepare. Also, the feeling that have I prepared enough, or is there something that I've missed out? So that fear of not being sufficiently prepared was there. There was also a lot of sense of purpose that that gave me the drive to continue, and it also gave me the opportunity to study the competencies in depth, really understand what would they mean, and to kind of tie them back to the work that I had done. So that was a great opportunity. So I was learning a lot. I was reading books. I was talking to people. So everything was, every little interaction was enlightening. So mixed bag of thoughts and feelings, Ajit. And the second question that you asked about, there was something about the online assessment.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's being online assessment. What were the thought and feelings, especially?
What were the challenges also?
Yeah, challenges, yeah.
Yeah. So in online, it was in fact things like, do I buy a ring light or no? Do I have another laptop ready? Do I need to have two screens to share? Do I have the updated Zoom version? I mean, those are added things that one has to think about when one is doing online. Challenges in terms of, I don't know what is the technology savviness of the other people who would be experiencing the demo session. So those were the challenges that I had to deal with, in terms of being prepared, and also having a backup plan in case something goes wrong, connectivity goes wrong. I should have an alternative internet
just a question that emerges for me here, Shalaka, is did the IF office, or when you're going the IF office, the assessors, did they support you with this ambiguity that you had?
We did have a technical briefing. That was one of the things that happened, where so there is this additional role now, which is called as the technical process manager, who is the person who is responsible for the technical and the technological preparedness of the participants, as well as explaining what are the requirements of the process as such. So we did have a technical briefing where they told us about what are the settings we should have on Zoom, for example, hide non-video participants, don't use virtual background as far as possible, have the updated Zoom version, how to make sure that you are able to share share files in the session, etc. Then also things like we are not supposed to record the session. So there were also some rules that have kind of additionally become applicable in the online space.
Sure, thank you for that. Moving to Farah. Farah, you come with loads of experience, as you said. You had been doing facilitation, and you moved into the space of also looking at this accreditation. My question that comes for you is, post your CPF, have you been able to make use of your certification in some way or the other? I'm not saying from a practice perspective, but from having that certification, did it open up some doors?
Yeah, I think it opened quite a few opportunities for me. So I'm when you do it, you don't look at what you're getting back. It's truly the experience. And I remember the morning in Mumbai when I got, when I got the result, I was feeling so expanded and really grateful for that experience, because it really is something that you cannot express in words. It's your own journey, and that I decided to give back and give back to the community. So by having the CPF, I had an opportunity to give back in many ways. So one, though I contributed in the Bangalore hub, it didn't have that requirement to have a CPF. But after that, it really took me to places where I could put my hand up for being on the board. So it gave me those opportunities, and it gave me also some very interesting opportunities that I didn't expect. One that comes with having the most amazing learning from your fellow CPFs, and then having mentors who you can reach out to, and then even actually believe you can do things together. So the opportunities from there was co-facilitating at different conferences, and then being part of a once-in-a-lifetime project. I think many of you would have read about that, that I was part of a really incredible year-long project with my guru, my mentor, who I love, Barbara McKay, which led to to be part of that. Was also I think it was an entry point to take on those projects, and to actually finally even get a facilitation impact award for that. So when I think of my journey, I feel that it's all been step by step. The more you give, and without expecting, and it just opens up such different doors. I never expected that, Ajit. But yes, some opportunities for work, because people are looking for someone who has this certification for large projects, did open up. Yeah.
And Kala, yeah, thank you for that. And Kala, you did mention about you being part of an organization. So just looking at post your CPF, have you been able to use your understanding, deeper understanding, as you said, going through that 3 months process itself made you deep dive into facilitation much more. So have you been now able to use into your work?
Yes, of course. I think the CPF certification has opened a lot of opportunities as well. And as I'm a co-founder of an HR consulting and a training company, right, it gives me more opportunity when people look at us that I am a certified facilitator. I know, that CPF gives you people under, because facilitation and training is used and abused, as we say, right? Used and abused. So when they know that you are certified, they know that you know your job. They know what you're talking about. So that gives you the credential, that gives you, as I heard Farah rightly say, it, actually opens up doors. So when they are looking at facilitators, they know that they're talking to the correct person, because you're certified from a body. It's just not the word that you're just throwing at them. So of course, being an entrepreneur, CPF, I think, is the best journey that I'm on, and I have taken up, and I'm so grateful to the universe that I am on this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I've kept Mrunal silent for a long time, and he loves being silent. But let me ask him to unmute himself and share some insights about how he has been using his CPF credentials in the space of work, in the space of he does a lot of coaching work, which I know of. Mrunal, you want to share?
Thank you, Ajit. And I would like you to really also manage your time, because you have impromptu added me, so feel free. I'm absolutely okay also to be on silent. Thank you for that. So how has CPF added? I would say one is for myself. I think it's a tremendously self-fulfilling to feel that you are a CPF, and what it means is that you've understood the competencies much in depth. Then probably you were out. You were not a part of the CPF then, which all of us have shared. I think that's a great journey. And the way CPF has helped me is, I would say, in certain areas for sure. So as we were just talking about, it helps some clients who are looking at certified facilitators, because in the world of today, where anything that is in the vogue, people want them to call themselves, whether they are having that kind of a credential or not. So anybody would call them a coach. When the coaching started booming, the facilitation has done the same. So it's easy to put the word facilitator, and So they
It sounds nice. It sounds so nice.
So when you have this credential, I think you are clearly immediately creating a differentiation and a distinction. Oh, this is a certified one, and this is somebody who's calling as a facilitator. No ways, I'm kind of demeaning people who call themselves facilitators, because there are some great facilitators, maybe as good as CPF or even more, I would say, who have been doing it for years and who have got in what is the DNA of facilitation in them. But other than those, many people just call themselves CPF. So I got some opportunities in regards to some clients who are looking out for certified ones. So either it's more like the MNC clients, largely they're aware of what is a CPF. So they have roped in me in certain projects. Very happy to share, for example, with Ajit and me, we got the opportunity to be the visiting faculty witness for their OD batch, the executive OD as well as the MAOD, because they were looking at the CPF who would be certified to really do that as a part of their facilitation skills curriculum. So we have been a part of that for the last 5 years, that the year that they introduced that program. And another thing is that the IF endorsed a comprehensive training program. There are only 6 organizations in the world who have got the IF endorsed comprehensive kind of a skills program. So got the opportunity to be being a part of the also organization called C2COD, to be a facilitator or a co-facilitator for that program, which is done in an open space. So these are some of the things I would like to cite, Ajit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. That's wonderful. I'm conscious of time, and we have we had planned for about half an hour of having these experience being shared. We are just about a minute away. One last word to sum up your journey from each one of you, maybe 2-3 words. One word becomes too constrained for some of us. So, okay, Farah, one sentence probably before we move to the next piece.
Can I go last?
Okay, Shalaka, we'll start with Shalaka.
Okay, I would like to sum up by saying that, becoming a CPF gave me the conviction, the courage, and the confidence to help people help themselves.
Wonderful. Kala?
For me, it has been awareness, learning, and spaces for conversation.
And Farah?
Just reinforce the belief, trusting the process, trusting the wisdom in the room, and trusting myself as a facilitator.
So great. Let me thank all 3 of you for really sharing your experiences. I think that just helps all of us who are listeners here to understand the experiences. And I'm sure you have picked up lots of bits from all the 4. So we are going to get into an activity. And this activity is going to happen in breakout rooms. Just a little bit of ways of working in the breakout rooms. Please see that you can, or I know some people are probably in spaces where they can't have their videos on, but in breakout rooms, it just helps having your video on and connecting with colleagues who are here. So what is it that we are going to do for 10 minutes in the breakout rooms? We are going to harvest. That means I'll try to put you in groups of 7 or 8, and you can look at what has been shared up till now and look at what is it that you are holding on to from a perspective of your own CPF journey in future. What is it that you're holding? We are not going to come back in the main room and have each room discussion. So within your room, you complete the whole conversation, look at what comes up from 7 or 8 of you who are in the room, pick that up, look at if you want to, converge it to 1, 2, 3 meaning that comes as a combined meaning. Maybe we can have time for 1 or 2 rooms to share, but not surely all the rooms. So while this is happening, let me set up the breakout rooms. Are we clear with what we are doing in the breakout rooms? Is that clear? Yep. Okay, I don't see any questions or raise hand. If you put a raise hand saying, no, I'm not clear, then I'll repeat. Otherwise, we are breaking into, and it's a good time to also say hi, hello, and introduce yourself in the room. So that's something that you can surely do. We are looking at coming back in, say, around 10 minutes. So here we are at 11:16, 11:25, 26, we should be back. I'm opening the rooms. You may have our CPFs also in your room. Just say hi, hello. They may want to just be silent observers, their choice. and it's all about you having the conversation. If the CPFs who were there and having this conversation, if you want to come back into the main room because you feel, let that conversation just come back into the main room, and let's have a chat in the main room. For others, we'll meet in around 10 minutes. I'm opening the rooms. See you in 10 minutes. Yeah, rather than just talking, let me also, let's have an activity around what is the CPF process. You've heard from the CPFs earlier. Many of you have read it, only 2 or 3 haven't read about it. So fairly, you may have some idea about the process. So let's see what's our present understanding. And then after that present understanding, I will kind of give you what exactly happens when we say the process of CPF. Okay, so let me introduce how we are doing it. The how part is interesting. I thought, let me create a small kind of a game scenario or activity scenario. So what I've done is, on this Jamboard, I have put up, there are 2 stages. First is the CPF assessment process. If you see on the left hand side, this is the entry where you are, just give me a moment. Yeah, where you're entering, and then there is a stage 1 and there is a stage 2, and there's an equal to sign here, which means after the stage 2, something happens, right? I put about 21 chits here. And in a while, I am going to give you links. We are going to go back into the room. Those, so when you are in a particular room, please press the link to that room and start collaboratively trying to find out what could be the first step, second step, third step, and try to put the post-it notes. By the way, if you have used the Jamboard, you know that it moves, right? You just have to click and move. Just be careful. Access could be with everyone. Don't delete anything. And if by chance you manage to delete something, please go to the left-hand side. Can you see my arrow and a hand? And undo. If you deleted something, like if you delete the whole background picture, and you just have to go and undo, and it will come back. Okay, so no worries, but try to place the chits. So I have tried to put all these steps that are there here on post-it notes stickies, and you just have to put it where you feel it goes. I'm not doing it, I'm just doing it random here. You'll have to do it with a conversation. Right. Okay, so let me stop share and give you the, let me see how many will go back into the rooms. We were 6 rooms. So I'm going to give 6 room links. And once you get into the room, one of you can actually say, hey, I would like to share my desktop or the Jamboard. And you could do it as a group, or if you want to all go inside and then do it and then have a discussion, that's your call. Okay, so the room can decide how they would like to do it. And here I am sending everyone in the meeting the link. Okay, so here it is. So we have 6 rooms and 6 different links. First, look at where you are in the room. Most of you probably know it, but I'll repeat. When we put you into breakout room, on the left hand side on the top, you know which room you are, right? Room number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press the link, you will be taken to the Jamboard. Once you're on the Jamboard, have a conversation and decide, come up with what do you think is the process of the steps of the whole CPF process. So with this, again, now we have about 10 minutes and we are going to come back in 10 minutes. The idea is not about completion. The idea is having a conversation and working towards completion, right? That would be amazing. For all my friends who are CPFs, you can also join the group, but as we say, speak last. If you want to contribute, the only person who is not allowed to do this is Shalaka, because she has gone through the online process, and this basically whole process is quite bright in her mind, and she'll be able to do it immediately. So she is not allowed. She will come back to the main room, or she'll just listen, whereas the other CPFs can join in, but speak last. Let the others first find out. So let me open the rooms. You can see the links on the chat, right? Give me some thumbs up so we know that you can see the links. Okay, so I'm opening the rooms back into the same rooms, and let's see which room completes the process as it is defined by the IF certification team. So welcome back, and I am sure you had very interesting discussions in the room. So let's take a look at what came up in the rooms without spending a lot of time on this. So this was where we had given you that there are two stages and the stickies where you had to place it inside. So this is room number one, and room number one fairly has got a logical sequential order. I think one of the things they're struggling is what is 7 by 3 and 1, and we'll talk about it in a while. So this is room number two, and room number two has looked at okay, check IF World org, then part one, part two, part three, then 7 by 3 is outside before stage one and two. So we need to really clarify this, and this is what they have some comes in stage two. Then room number three is done here, quite neat, clean, and 7 by 3 is near pass fail. So let's see what's this 7 by 3 and 1. Room number four is, yeah, so they have put differ fail inside the stage two. Interesting. And this is the last group, which is the group which has said that um, this is the process. Okay, fine. Thank you for participating. And I think the whole idea was to make you look at the various steps within the process, look at various things that need to be done. So let me do something. What I've done is I have put up a key here in Mural. So I'm going to talk about what are the key aspects that we need to remember when we are talking about the CPF process. So as I said earlier, the assessment process is in two stages. Let me take you to the answer key. So if you look here, and let's focus on the first step. So the first thing is that you need to check the website and check for dates of the assessment and write for application package. You can directly give your details and ask for the application pack, or you could email certification at if-world.org. Once this goes off, you'll naturally receive the application documents, and once you receive the application documents, you will be asked, there would be three things asked of you. So these are three documents you get in Word format. So part one is all about the candidate's basic information. It's your contact details, email ID, how the IF office can get in touch with you, and be in the loop along with the assessors, knowing where do they contact you and how do they contact you. Part two is about the candidate CV and resume. This doesn't require a lot of explanation here. Part three is something which is very important, and we'll spend some time here. So if you look at part three is the statement of qualifications and facilitation experience. So remember the 7 by 3, which we were wondering where it is. Actually, what it means is 7 by 3 is a list of 7 facilitation workshops in the last 3 years. What's the 7 workshops? And it just says last 3 years. So it could be any time between today, when I'm planning to 3 years back. So I may have many such workshops. I could select those 7. Then out of these 7, one of these is what you will explain in detail. So one of these workshop is completely in detail, a summary of 1,000 to 1,500 words. You also need to attach certificates of relevant trainings attended. You could have attended a particular training on facilitation, something on coaching, and you feel it is relevant to put it as part of your documentation. You give that reference, and then you attach these certificates. You also need to attach confirmation from clients of facilitated workshops. So this is something which is sent as part of your application package. So all those 7 workshops that you did, you need to ask your clients or your stakeholders, and they send you that. It could be email, it could be a letter, and that needs to go as part of your pack. So this is the time you submit your application, and naturally the fee is what you pay, because if you don't pay the fee, you know, it won't move forward. So you submit the documents and then pay a fee. Now what happens is, this is where the assessors step in. So two assessors get identified, and they take a look at your complete documentation. What are they looking out for is IF competencies. So we have 6 competencies. They would look at your documentation and see which of the competencies it's leading, which of the competencies it connects to. So the evidence is looked at. The assessors are wonderful enough to know what goes in what, and they take a look at documentation. So you don't need to do anything specifically to tell them that this is what they need to look at. They would look at it. Next comes, if you pass this. Now this is the time one of the assessors, out of the 2 assessors, one of the assessors will communicate to you if there's some ambiguity or some clarity required further in your documentation. And that's where each person's experience will completely differ. So you'll get your assessor asking you, can you explain this further? Can you give some examples? And you have to send that. Once the assessor team is satisfied to what they have received, what you move into is you move into the acceptance of stage 2, and that's before the stage comes in. So acceptance is you receive information that you've been accepted to stage 2. Somewhere around this time, you have also selected the event date time. You get information from the IF office, and at times from the assessor, who will talk about a facilitation workshop scenario which you have to demonstrate in stage 2. So you need to select out of the 6 cases, 6 scenarios that are given. You need to select one scenario that you will facilitate on. And what is interesting is, out of the earlier 2 assessors, one of these assessors will connect to you and will role play a client assessor, and that's where they'll connect to you as a client assessor. You can ask for an understanding of the scenario, and then you design your workshop, and you interact with the client assessor as if the client assessor is an actual client. So what's stage 2 all about? And stage 2 is where the event date which has been finalized, you have said yes to that particular event date. You need to block yourselves for 2 days. So in the online version now, we have to block ourselves for 2 days. And what happens is on day 1, so I'm talking about the online version. In person, as per what I understand, most of the assessments will move online, and there would be few in-person events which will happen as part of conferences. But as of now, you will find that all online assessments are listed on our website. So event 1, day 1 is an interview. So the assessors, the 2 of the assessors who have been identified, will have a conversation with you, interview you. Again, they're going to look out for evidence on the competencies. You have this conversation, and on, so you have to attend both the days. So there's no pass or fail on day 1 and then you move to day 2. You go through day 1, and then on day 2, there you have to facilitate a workshop for 30 minutes. You'll be supported. You will be told there's a prep time, there's a technical process manager who will help you out. But before that, let me show you who are going to be there in this demo. So if you are the candidate chair, you'll find that there would be 3 other candidates. So you would have 3 other candidates. You would have additional 2 participants. These are not candidates, but these are additional participants who come in so that it's easier for you to facilitate. Otherwise, there are only just 3 or 4 people. You may say, hey, that was a lot less audience. The certification team gives you good enough size of an audience for you to facilitate. So as I was saying earlier, you are the facilitator. There are 3 candidates, 2 participants. So out of your 2 primary assessors, one of them, who is the client assessor, will be part of the group, and the other assessor will be a silent observer. That means their cameras will be off, they will not speak, they will not interact, they will just observe. Another interesting thing is that there are 2 other assessors also, so total of 4 assessors are going to be there. Out of these 2 other assessors, one is going to be a participant inside the room, and the other one is going to be another silent observer. So you have 4 assessors, 2 in person in the session, 2 in the session and 2 as observers. Then remember, there's also a process manager who's helping you out from the initial stages. There's a technical process manager, especially for supporting you on online. When I say supporting, it doesn't mean that they're going to open your breakout rooms and all that. No, you have to do everything. They would tell you important elements of updating your Zoom, giving you comfort around making it simple. So you have to decide your design, and you have to take care of all the technical part, but the technical process manager supports from certain technical elements that they support the whole event with. But your session, you need to do that. So the TPM and PM are generally they're not going to assess you. So they are there, but they're not going to assess you at all. So this is the group that you have, and post everyone's session workshop. What happens towards late evening, so please keep your full day, and late evening you would have your second round of interviews or conversations. So in the second round, again, you'd have a conversation. The assessors would give you some more insights, and then comes the time where you get into the phase of results. And I'm sure when you look at the results, there will be times when we will pass and we celebrate. But in the rare case, you could also be deferred if the assessor team feels that they didn't see enough evidence of the competencies. Fail is very rare. It does happen, very rare, but defer can happen more. But what I've seen is, and experienced and heard is, people pass. So it's not difficult if you have gone, you're prepared well, you have practiced, and it moves. It moves quite. So just remember that you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. You have to do what you normally do. And assessors are trained to look out for the competencies. So don't get stressed. Don't do something which you're not doing, and that may actually harm in some way. The last bit that we need to remember is remember that every candidate has a very unique experience. So even if you reach out to other candidates who have who have undergone the CPF, they may give their perspectives, and that's still their perspective, because someone else may have not been asked or told something about what have been asked or told to them. So each candidate's experience is unique and special. So that's how the whole process looks like. I'm going to put the image of this in the chat box for you to refer, plus we'll email it to you later. But let's look at what questions now we have. You have already done it in the rooms, and probably this matches, and there's a little bit of mismatch. What questions do you have on the process that I just shared and talked about? Come to Shushma. I think to answer the question from the physical as well as online, 3 months is what we say is it takes from the time you say I am interested for this event. Now, That reality can change, because if you go now and look at the events, the next 3 months are already blocked. That means people have already blocked saying that I am wanting to do. So yours will come. So Asia comes every 2 months. America comes every 2 months. Middle East comes in between. So then you can look at it. So for all those who got my email, there's a link of events. So you look at the events list, and first is write to the office. So they remember that you have shown interest for this. And then so fairly 3 months is what you keep as a. Okay, over to you, Sushma.
So my question is more on a practical aspect of how do I get these 7 or 8 or 9 sessions? Because most of the time I'm a trainer, right? So from how do you all get it? Does it have to be a paid assignment or just a voluntary assignment? Any tips on how to collect these sessions which we need to submit?
Farah, you want to put up a thought before I put mine?
Yeah, I think first of all, these need not, I just want to say these need not be end to end. You don't need to have like a 4-hour, they have 4 hours of online to be facilitated. It could be one process in that you could also describe. So that's one thing. So you could choose. So the moment, for me, what happened was the moment I knew I knew this is the process, then I started to become a lot more conscious of what kind of work, how do I want to facilitate this piece? And of course, co-facilitation is like the best thing that you could do. So I would say look for co-facilitation opportunities, and also become conscious about, what process, become aware of why you're doing what you're doing in a session. So you can choose a part of your session as well to be purely group facilitation methods. Yeah.
Sure. Kala, you want to add here because I see your hand up?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that, Ajay. Just adding to what Farah said, see that it is minimum 120 minutes. So 100 minutes doesn't count. It has to be a minimum of 120 minutes where you have done pure process facilitation. Right. So that is one thing, because I was not aware of this. So I'm just coming from where. So 100 minutes was not added up. So you have to have minimum 120 minutes, at least when it was face to face. So your 7 processes, minimum 120 minutes, maximum it could go to whatever you've been doing. Yeah. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
So quickly, just as a follow-up, would the IAF, supposing I did a session for IAF Bangalore or IAF India, would that count?
Yes.
Yes, it does count.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. So let me answer a little broader perspective. The IAF sessions do count. I just want us to be mindful of that. If you just put up the IAF sessions that you have done, then it's possible that the assessors may ask you for evidence of client work. So please spread, like I and Mrinal, when we do tests, and if I was going for recertification and all the 7 workshops, because we do say tests 5 classes and we are doing batches in Bangalore and all that, I would not ideally put that as the only, because then there's you're showing the competencies that you have of a facilitator. So it's very important to give more varied examples. So look at some facilitation where it's a large group. Look at something which is a small group. Look at something which is vision. Look at something which, and I liked what Farah said. The moment we get aware that we want to do CPF, start moving some of the future work that you have to having more bits of facilitation, even if it's within your training. Within your training. So your training could be a day, but you're doing, as Kala said, about 120 minutes of pure process facilitation. And that is what you can document, saying that this whole day was this, and I was running a XYZ storytelling workshop. In this 120 minutes, this is what I did. But remember, as we said, everyone's experience is unique. The assessors may ask you a few questions more to understand what exactly, how much did you do, which was training, and how much did you do. So those things can come back to you. I see Shalaka's hand up and Kala. I'll come to Shalaka and then Kala. They would contribute more from the CPF space. Yeah, Shalaka.
Yeah, I just want to also share that in IAF sessions, most of the times it is demonstrating a topic or a process. Where the desired outcome may not be something that is a harvest or a takeaway. So in that case, one needs to be mindful whether it qualifies for being showcased as a facilitated session. For example, Sushma, the exercise we went through for the visioning of the India core team, that would qualify, because that has a specific desired outcome, and that has, you know, a group of people who are working together for a common purpose. But typically for the IF sessions, we generally have, it's more like a showcasing facilitation without really having a specific desired outcome. But if there is an opportunity within the IF for such a thing, and of course the duration typically tends to be 90 minutes. So that is another criteria to be kept in mind. So I just wanted to bring that.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, just a clarification, because there are two things on the chat and I just wanted to clarify this bit. So Rachna says that you need minimum 3 years. We are not saying that. You could have a rich facilitation experience as of now, and it's a matter of 2-3 days that you need to look back into your 3 years, and you may get n number of situations coming up which you can list. For people who have never done process facilitation, yes, that's the time they'll have to start working more with process facilitation. Otherwise, it doesn't say, you know, that it takes 3 years. No. When I had gone to Singapore, there was one gentleman who was there who had never been in IF, in the sense he had become a member only for the CPF. And he passed, and he was part of the military, because in Singapore military, the rule was that if you want to take up higher positions, you have to have a CPF facilitator. They say we don't fight wars, we have to resolve wars. So I hope in India also we have been trying to influence certain positional powers to understand that facilitation can be used even in when there's war kind of situations. Kala, go ahead. You wanted to add something?
Yes, just getting to the awareness, beautiful conversation. The thing is, in my journey, when you know that you're going on for your CPF journey, please start documenting.
Yeah.
Don't keep it that, you know, I have to submit it on a certain date, so I'm going to look out for my material on that day. Please don't do that. Because when you are writing, they are looking for your competencies, and the competencies would be fresh when you have just done the session and you come back, you reflect, and you please write it down. Right. So that is one request I would want anyone who's like, you know, planning for their CPF journey, please start documenting. Very, very important in this journey. Thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. And there's a clarification from Runal also for the 7 sessions that you need to list out. Just one thing, Amar, you have asked 120 minutes by 7. It's too logical written down. Let me say that don't put it like 120 minutes. It's not like that. So Kala's experience was where someone did ask her for 100 minutes, but let me tell you that may not be for everyone. Okay.
So just adding to Ajit, so the clarification was when I had sent my forms written, there was one process of 100 minutes. So I got a letter saying back from the assessor that you need to have minimum 120 minutes. So I had varied things. So I had something for 120 minutes. I had something for 3 hours. I had one thing for a whole day. So it had to be varied for me. So 100 minutes, they said, this is not qualifiable. Send us something for 120 minutes. So that is what I wanted to just make a point.
Yeah. So it's not about 120 minutes. What I'm trying to clarify is it's not like a, 120 multiplied by 7. It could be
minimum. Minimum.
Yeah. It could be even a day's session which you're putting up, and it stands for only one case. You have to find 6 more, you can what Farah says is very important. You put more diversity there around what you have done. It really gives a perspective of, as a facilitator, you have worked in different environments, different situations, and that helps, right? Rather than only one environment.
Yeah, I think I just want to re-emphasize this part. One is, I think they look at the diversity of the contexts that you have facilitated. Also the type of groups that you have facilitated, whether it's a combination of corporates, not-for-profits, government, all those kind of things, and the number of people that you have facilitated, and also whether you have facilitated independently or co-facilitated. So there are all these different, kind of factors that are at play.
Sure. Before I come to Sanjay, whose hands are paining, he's kept his hand up for a long time. Just to humorously answer Shailesh's point, what's the logic of 7? That's what the assessor team has come up with since many many years. Maybe 7 Habits of Highly Effective People influenced, or I don't know. But 7 is what it is. You may choose and give 6. They will ask you for 1 more. Simple as that. You can't give
7 different colors.
Yeah, Ravi, wonderful. 7 different colors. Yeah, Sanjay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I am this whole IF world. So a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, these 7 things that you have done. So I guess I need to get a little bit more background about what are we talking about, the 7 process facilitations that you have to document. How can we know what are those competencies that I have to start planning for, like what Farah was talking about, for example? Where do is there like a pre-work to this CPF? How do you get to become a facilitator first? Forget the certified one.
So
Farah
first is,
smiling.
are you part of the IF, Sanjay?
I have been introduced to the word IF very recently. So
Okay.
I was one of the things that you talked about. I have done informal facilitation, as I understand it, for quite a few years, understanding what is certification. And I am a certified business coach and executive coach. So I want to understand the finer nuances and differences here.
Yeah. So my answer, and any one of my colleagues could choose to also answer this, is that being part of IF helps because you start seeing the difference between these words that we interchangeably use, training and facilitation. And Runal knows this, we have seen a lot of people come to us and say, oh, I'm a facilitator. And we are running a facilitation session where we had a client saying we don't need facilitation. And we said, okay, let's look at it. Very big company, head of the academy and all that. And when we saw, he was just standing and talking. And he said, hold on, that's training. He was doing a great job. We're not denying. Training is also as powerful. Speaking is as powerful. So speaking, training, facilitation, facilitative trainer could be terms that we end up using, but group process facilitator. So one of your questions is, where do you get the best is to look at the competency document. Go to the website. There is the competency document in one of the drop downs. I have sent an email to all those who had registered till yesterday. Otherwise, I'll send it again. Write to me and I'll send you the link. Take a read of the competency document. The competencies have been explained very easy to understand, simple, and you need to look at whether your practice that's what in IF we call facilitation. It talks about content neutrality. This is a very, it's a debatable word. We have a lot of sessions on it, but IF in one of the competencies defines content neutrality. So typically training is going with content, right? So take a look at the competencies. It's very clear. And then you can also, now this is with Amar's earlier question and with others, if there's a IF mentorship program, okay, if you want a mentor, ideally we would say that join the mentorship program. It's not of IF India, it's of IF Global. You put up your interest, there's a fee of $100 or something. You from a global space, you would be offered any one of the CPFs, and both of you need to say yes, and they would help you get insights on facilitation and the work that you do. I think a lot of people who have attended the mentorship program have come back and said that really helped them understand facilitation. Anyone who has attended the mentorship program? Okay, Sushma has, Shalaka has. Who else? Okay, you can even mark a yes or no in this. Yes is better, so then we know. And that's how you do it. So that's otherwise you can reach out to Shalaka. She's the co-chair of India. They can introduce you to the IF based on where you're located, because we have hubs, and the hub leads will also help you attend events. You get a hang of what is that slight difference that we are looking at. But it's a 180-degree difference as per the documentation. Anudada, sorry, I have kept you holding your hand for a long time.
Yeah, so I have a few questions related to the process itself. So when you say 7 topics, do they have to be 7 distinct topics? Or it could be that you have facilitated a topic maybe 2 or 3 times to a different set of audience. So what qualifies? That's question number 1. Then 2 is about, you mentioned the client. So you could have done 7 facilitation sessions within the same client group or different clients. So what works? The third question is about the time span of these facilitation sessions that you could put in your application. You said 7 cases of facilitation that you need to put up. Have they to be done within a particular time span? That should be, say, what, 1 year before the application, 2 years before, or it could be across the, a spectrum of your career? And
Anuradha,
are there
I
any?
think, yeah, there are a lot of questions and I'll forget.
Yeah,
I'm
there
getting
are a lot of questions.
Yeah, but I think that's what we were clarifying. If you see the process, maybe you missed this. It says list 7 facilitation workshops. It is not topics. Okay, 7 facilitation workshops in the last 3 years. And if you see the discussion that happened on the chat, it talks about, it's not that you need to go back 3 years. If you've done it in the last 2 months, more than 7, you can even identify that and put it up, right? And one of these, you have to put it in grades, detail, which is 1,000 to 1,500 words. And there are relevant questions also they'll ask you about what was the desired outcome, etc. for that one case. So 6 will be where you are just putting it in probably 200, 300 words. But this one thing is very, very major. I think the next bit of your question is, what was it?
It's the same client or multiple clients?
My personal thought around it, and my colleagues have already clarified that if you have diversity, it helps. If you see what Farah has said, that she did a women's group especially to get that diversity in, right? Farah, you did a NGO kind of session.
No, I didn't. It wasn't an NGO. It was a paid event, but I was looking for a large group. In my sessions, I didn't have like 200 plus. I just wanted that diversity.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm echoing.
Yeah, it's not a compulsion. It's not a compulsion that you need, but sometimes the assessors, and that's where you need to realize that for every person, the experience could be different. The assessors may look at this and they may ask you, do you have a large group situation that you have done? We would like to have that. And that is where they can call. So the assessors will have been trained. They will decide based on your documentation as well as. Yeah, Farah, you wanted to.
For me, remember that I had the time. I had lots of time, so I was curious to do different stuff. So it wasn't a requirement, but it's nice to have diversity, So you choose that.
Yeah, while I'm with Anuradha, quick answer to Kavita is, Kavita, the template is what they will send you. So the application form is a template. Okay, you get it in a template form. You just have to fill the Word document. You send it in the Word document only. You don't need to do whatever. They will give you instruction. The instructions are very clear. So the template is what you get. You have to fill the template. That's it. There's no other template available. All our documentations could be different ways. And generally, CPFs will ideally not share their documentation with you. Because your own documentation, so no one wants a copy paste kind of a thing, right? So CPFs are told that you are not supposed to. You can have conversations, but it's not about sharing documentation and all that. So you need to create your own. They can look at your documentation, probably give you some tips around it. Yeah, Farah.
I just want to add there because it's so important. I remember when I had this book and I thought this was my Bible, spot on facilitation. I held on to it like, this is going to take me through, but I want to say that of course there are books, but nothing to beat practice. So what I didn't do was I went with the design in my head, etc. But what I didn't do was put together a small group and I said, hey, you know what, I'd like to actually run this with you. And I noticed that all my other colleagues from different cities did that. So now when I mentor others, I also invite them to just test your process with a group and see how it goes. And so you'll see what challenges emerge. So I would say, enjoy this journey because it looks like a lot, but it's lots of fun. Yeah.
I so agree with Farah. Thank you for getting that point. Practice, 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 because facilitation is a skill. We might have all the knowledge, we have read all the books, but until you are being into it, because remember, friends, it's all about competency, and competencies have to be, showcased, or it has to be new, and that is the time, So being a facilitator and being only comes by practice. I think I can say this for all my fellow CPF, that is only practice, practice, practice. And thank you, Farah, for getting on that point. Thank you.
Yeah, you can't learn swimming by reading a book. Yeah, so
And
let's
also competency E and F are all about continuous learning, and showcasing not just the behaviors but also the values and the attitude for being an effective facilitator.
sure. Anuradha, is there something still lying unanswered for you?
I think I can go on, but I think in the interest of time, one last question. So I know there are lots of in-person facilitation, and now the online facilitation, I think, has gone into this whole realm of so much of technological advances, etc. So is there any space within the IF to actually be a learner of these different modalities, and how does one go about it?
Shalaka would be the right person probably to answer this. Shalaka?
Yeah, just to understand the question, when you say modalities, is it the use of online and virtual methods of facilitation, Anuradha?
Yeah. There are different tools and techniques which are there. So, one may or may not have used them in the past. So I think since you all are kind of qualified and experienced facilitators, I would be curious to know, is there any repository which can be used as members, and is there any training that gets done on a regular basis where one gets comfortable with these new tools and techniques?
Okay, I would have multiple responses to it. First of all, the online assessment does not evaluate your technical capabilities of how effective you are able to use the technology. That is not the criteria. It is still competencies and the demonstration of your competencies. That is why they don't expect you to do anything very high tech as a part of your demo. A simple Google document is good enough. So they do share certain links for Google documents and sheets and slides, which are the simplest things to use, except for certain countries like China where they may not have access. So those are some of the things that you have to keep in mind. In terms of whether within the IF we have opportunities where we get to learn about this, I would say those are some of the unintended outcomes of the sessions that we have. So, like for example, Ajit used Mural today, and somebody will say, hey, how do I get to create these images on Mural? And then Ajit will be able to help you around that. Having said that, so that is how most of us learn to use virtual tools, and it is not something that is required for the online assessment. The second is, having said that, within IF we do have special interest groups, and one of the special interest groups is about virtual facilitation. So there are people who who it's like a study group, right? So you learn from each other. So there are people who share their knowledge, they share their experience, and they share some tips about what are some of the ways that work better when you're facilitating online. So I'm not sure whether that answers your question
adequately. Thank you so much.
Sure, we are just about 1 minute 40 seconds away from our closure. And if there is a dying question you have, which if not answered, you'll not be able to sleep, please ask. Otherwise, most of us are there active in the social space. You could connect. The best, I would say, rather than connecting to us, go to the IF website, if-world.org website. Believe me, there's so much of information that you don't even need to connect to someone, but you can still connect, and someone may support you on that. But I would still encourage the global mentorship program that can help you, because that's a mentorship program meant for helping people on the pro path. So with this, I need to thank all of you for being here, the audience and the people who are interested. So I would say CPFs in future, or CPFs, welcome CPFs. I'm very happy for Farah, Kala, Shalaka and Mrunal to also join in and share their experiences with us, which gave in very unique ways understanding of their journey, and that sets up confidently on our journey. And IF, thank you IF for giving this opportunity to work with this. So with this, bye bye, over to Shalaka as part of the co-chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ajit, for creating this space and opportunity. I think it was, like I said, I relived the experience through the questions and through the sharing that happened on this platform today. I'm also very much looking forward to have many of you want to take this journey forward, and just wanted to share that we are there to support you. It may not be exactly telling you what to do, but helping you to create that experience for yourself and learn in the process. And just to announce that from next month, we would also be launching a series of slightly deeper and longer sessions, about 2.5 to 3 hours, where we will be covering IF values and ethics, starting with IF values and ethics, and then taking one competency each month and doing a deep dive into it. So how do we help, how do we understand each of the competencies? Where do we showcase it? What would be the ways to, help the assessors understand that you are showcasing that competency. So those are some of the things we are, planning to get for everyone, which I think would also help, everyone to prepare yourself for this journey. So I think those are some of the things that, initiatives that we are planning to launch.
Shalaka, is there an email ID where they can write to the IF India this, and if you can type that would be
I'll
great.
do that. Yeah.
So with this, thank you. Shalaka is typing the email ID. If you want to get in touch, they would say. So with this, bye-bye, see you, thank you. I thought I'll again end with a nice music that I like generally to end with. So see you, bye-bye, take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Wonderful session.
Thank you so much for this. Bye.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajit. Great learning here.